Again. Roll.
Senators Bridges, Cook, Coram, Crowder, Danielson,
Here.
Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Foote, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hanson, Hill,
Excused.
Heisey, Holbert, Lee,
Here.
Lundeen, Lundeen,
Absent.
Marble, Moreno, Pedersen, Priola, Rankin, Rodriguez, Scott,
Yo.
Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Story, Tate, Todd, Williams,
Present.
Winter, Woodward, Zinzinger, Lundeen. Here. Mr. President.
Here. With 34 present, 0 absent, and 1 excused, we have a quorum. Members and guests, will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance. Approval of the journal. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the journal of Tuesday, June 2nd be dispensed with and that the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
Correctly printed, Senate Bill 213, 214, 215, and 216. Correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 2941 and 209. Correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 206 and 208. Correctly revised, House Bill 1109, 1177, 1232, 1237, 1302, 1313, 1318, 1326, and 1330. Correctly revised, House Bill 1153.
Third reading of bills. Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Will Mr. Carpenter, will you please read all the bill titles listed on the consent calendar?
House Bill 1232 by Representatives Michael and Janae and Liston, and Senators Todd and Priola concerning equity and access to clinical trials for individuals enrolled in the medical assistance program. House Bill 1318 by Representatives Byrd and Will and Senators Winter concerning the electronic recording of plots of land. House Bill 1237 by Representatives Young and Satan, Senators Moreno and Sonnenberg concerning the assignment of certain children and youth to managed care service areas under the Medical Assistance Act. House Bill 1177 by Representative Arndt, Senator Tate concerning modifications to the enterprise zone statutes in order to address certain defects and anachronisms. House Bill 1330 by Representatives Lontina McKeenan, Senators Gardner and Lee concerning modifications to the Colorado Governmental Immunity Act to clarify the status of immunity from liability that applies to the University of Colorado Hospital Authority. House Bill 1326 by Representatives Byrd and Van Winkle and Senators Lee and Gardner concerning an expansion of an individual's ability to practice an occupation in Colorado through creation of an occupational credential portability program. Senate Bill 209 by Senators Garcia and Holbert and Representatives Becker and Neville concerning bills enacted in the second regular session of the 72nd General Assembly that include an act subject to petition clause.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the passage of all the bills in the third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes House Bills 1232, 1318, 1237, 1177, 1330, 1326, and Senate Bill 209.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I know it's somewhat unusual to have some discussion. I did want to, due to a personal commitment, to some stakeholders on House Bill 1326, simply make a record. House Bill 1326 by Senator Lee, the other senator from El Paso County, and myself, concerns expansion of an individual's liability to practice an occupation in Colorado through creation of Occupational Credential Portability Program. This bill is incredibly important, particularly for military spouse portability of licensing in our efforts to have the U.S. Space Command permanently based here in Colorado. And for this reason, we are moving this bill rapidly through the process. Some of the occupational groups who were affected by this had asked for some amendments that, frankly, we were not willing to delay the bill to do, but we are committed to working with them next year with respect to their input into reciprocity and equivalency. And I just wanted to make a record of that, and I appreciate, Mr. President, your indulgence and that of my colleagues. Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is for the passage of all the bills on third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes on any of the bills listed on the third reading consent calendar? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1232 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Crowder, Moreno, Janal, Tate, Winter, Zenzinger, Pedersen, Story, Bridges, not Bridges, Hanson. The president will be fined $1. The majority leader. Please add the president. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1318 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, Moreno, Heisey, Rankin, Tate, Woodward, Janal, with a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1237 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Crowder, Zenzinger, Winter, Janal, Todd, Tate, Rankin, Priola, with a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1177 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Hanson, Priola, Rankin, Crowder, Woodward, Marble, Bridges, Gardner, Sonnenberg, Son 177. Please add the president. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1330 is passed. Co-sponsors, Mr. Minority Leader, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Sonnenberg, Hansen, Priola, Tate, Woodward, Marble, Janal, Moreno, Heisey, Cook, Bridges. Please add the president. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1326 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Crowder, Rankin, Bridges, Lundin, Winter, Cook, Donovan, Sonnenberg, Todd, Zenzinger, Heisey, Woodward, Pedersen, Priola, Tate, Smallwood, Marble, Scott, Fields, Janal, Rodriguez, Majority Leader, Minority Leader, Story, please add the president. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excuse, Senate Bill 209 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Donovan, Bridges, Winter, Moreno, Sonnenberg, Cook, Scott, third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 029.
Senate Bill 29 by Senators Fields and Moreno and Representatives Coleman and Duran concerning a one-time basic cash assistance payment to Colorado Works program recipients.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 29 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 029 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 029 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Crowder, Tate, Zenzinger, Story, Janal, Bridges, Lee, Hansen, Priola, Danielson, Winter, Pedersen, the Majority Leader, Gonzalez. Please add the president. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to House Bill 1109.
House Bill 1109 by Representatives Van Winkle and Garnett and Senators Gardner and Todd concerning extension of the income tax credit for employer contributions to employee 529 qualified state tuition programs.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we move House Bill 1109 on third reading and final passage.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of House Bill 1109 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excuse, House Bill 1109 is passed. Co-sponsors, Mr. Minority Leader, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Danielson, Lee, Sonnenberg, Williams, Moreno, Pedersen, Winter, Lundin, Cook, Zenzinger, Janal, Heisey, Gonzalez, Tate, Fields, Priola, Woodward, Smallwood, Scott. Please add the president. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate Bill 041.
Senate Bill 41 by Senators Cook and Zenzinger and Representative Garnett concerning parks passes for active members of the National Guard and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 41 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 041 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 041 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Moreno, Story, Pedersen, Bridges, Priola, Danielson, Rankin, Sonnenberg, Williams, Scott, Winter, Todd, Lee, Crowder, Janal, Hanson, Lundin, Gardner, Heisey, Woodward, the Majority Leader, Donovan, please add the president. With a vote Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to House Bill 1302.
House Bill 1302 by Representative Lundin and Senator Danielson concerning changes to improve the protection services for at-risk adults.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1302 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of House Bill 1302 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? Senators Crowder, Lundin, Minority Leader, Marble, Scott, Zenzinger, with a vote of 28 ayes, 6 no votes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1302 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Moreno, Pedersen, Todd, Bridges, Janal, Hanson, Winter, Rodriguez, Fields, Lee, Story, the Majority Leader. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to House Bill 1313.
House Bill 1313 by Representative Sullivan and Senator Todd concerning the administration of ballots mailed to electors toward the end of the voting period.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I move House Bill 1313 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of House Bill 1313 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? No votes on 1313. Senators Marble, Sonnenberg, Woodward, Minority Leader, Priola, Heisey, Crowder, Lundeen, Gardner, Tate, Smallwood, Rankin, Senator Scott. Mr. Majority Leader.
Those are all co-sponsors, right?
With a vote of 21 ayes, 13 no votes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1313 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Moreno, Winter, Hansen, Donovan, Danielson. This co-sponsors. Story, Pedersen, Mr. Majority Leader, Senator Bridges. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side, I move for the reconsideration of House Bill 1302.
The motion is for reconsideration. For House Bill 1302, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and reconsideration is granted. Ms. Carpenter, please read the title to House Bill 1302.
House Bill 1302 by Representative Montine and Senator Danielson concerning changes to improve the protection services for at-risk adults.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1302 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of House Bill 1302 on third reading and final passage. Are there any no votes? Senators Crowder, Marble, Undine, with a vote of 31 ayes, 3 no votes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1302 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Bridges, Todd, Moreno, Winter, Fields, Janal, Story, Pedersen, Story, Lee, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just really want to make sure folks understand this bill and how they're voting for it, and I just think we should do it one more time. So, having voted on the prevailing side, Mr. President, I move that we reconsider House Bill 1302.
Members, before I take up that motion, I know you're new or at this, but please be attentive. The motion is for the reconsideration of House Bill 1302. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and consideration is granted.
It does. It does.
The Senate will stand in a brief recess. Senate will come back to order. There was not unanimous consent for the majority leader's motion to reconsider. That motion failed. General order reading of bills. Second reading of bills, general orders. Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. And the Senate will resolve itself into consideration into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Hansen will take the chair.
This is going to be crazy. The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 185?
Senate Bill 185 by Senator Bridges and Tate and Representatives Tipper and Wilson concerning the creation of the Colorado Imagination Library Program.
Mr. Majority Leader,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 185 lay over until tomorrow, June 4th.
you've heard the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 185 will be laid over. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of the Senate Bill 007.
Senate Bill 007 by Senator Pedersen and Winter and Representatives Monte and Wilson concerning treatment for substance use disorders.
Mr. Majority Leader,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 7 lay over until tomorrow, June 4th.
you've heard the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 7 will be laid over. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate Bill 107.
Senate Bill 107 by Senator DeJean and Representatives Mullica and Jackson concerning an analysis of prescription drug manufacturer data on high-cost prescription drugs paid for by specified state departments to determine the components of the production process that drive the price of the prescription drugs.
Mr. Majority Leader,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 107 lay over until December 31st.
you have heard the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 107 will be laid over until December 31st. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate Bill 55.
Senate Bill 55 by Senators Priol and Story and Representatives Cutter and Arndt concerning the expansion of market mechanisms for the further development of recycling.
Mr. Majority Leader,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 55 lay over until tomorrow, June 4th.
you have heard the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. Ayes have it. Senate Bill 55 will be laid over until tomorrow. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate Bill 51.
Senate Bill 51 by Senator Priol and Representative Valdez A. Concerning license plates and in connection with specifying that in order to minimize potential lost registration revenue, the license plates of a motor vehicle that is classified as Class C personal property expire upon the sale or transfer of the motor vehicle, and that in order to improve eligibility and enforcement, a revised color scheme is required for certain license plates manufactured on or after a specified date.
Mr. Majority Leader,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 51 lay over until tomorrow, June 4th.
you've heard the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 51 will be laid over to tomorrow. Mr. Majority Leader,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was exhausting. Can't believe how much work we just accomplished. I move that the committee rise and report.
motion before the committee is to rise and report. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee will begs lead reports adding serious and following test bills being seconded though makes following recommendations to run. Senate Bill 185, Senate Bill 007, Senate Bill 55, Senate Bill 51 laid over until 6/4/2020, retaining their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 107 laid over until 12/31/20 and retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is for the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excuse, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 185, Senate Bill 007, Senate Bill 055, Senate Bill 051 laid over until 6/4/2020 and retaining their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 0107 laid over until 12/31/2020 and retaining its place on the calendar. Consideration of resolutions. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 021?
Senate Joint Resolution 21 by Senators Priola and Moreno and Representatives Mullica and Bockenfeld concerning the designation of a portion of Colorado Highway 44 as the Deputy Gum Memorial Highway.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Joint Resolution 21 and ask that it be read at length.
Mr. Carpenter, will you please read Senate Joint Resolution 021 at length?
Senate Joint Resolution 21 by Senators Priola and Moreno, Representatives Mullica and Bockenfeld, concerning the designation of a portion of Colorado Highway 44 as the Deputy Gum Memorial Highway. Whereas Heath McDonald Gum was born on March 23, 1986 in Denver, Colorado to James and Rebecca Gum, 2 years after his sister Lorelei Gum Martinez. And whereas Deputy Gum attended Mullen High School and graduated in 2004. And whereas in 2011, Deputy Gum received his Peace Officer Standards and Training Certification from his alma mater, Arapahoe Community College. And whereas Deputy Gum worked at the Cripple Creek Police Department until 2013, and he later joined the Adams County Sheriff's Department. And whereas Deputy Gum's ultimate goal was to become a detective. And whereas on January 24th, 2018, at the age of 31, Deputy Gum was shot and killed during a foot pursuit near 88th Avenue and Dawson Street in Thornton. And whereas thousands of Adams County citizens and officers, including many officers from across the country, attended Deputy Gum's funeral procession along Interstate 25. And whereas hundreds of these officers escorted his hearse to the Flatirons Community Church in Lafayette. And whereas Deputy Gum was promoted to the rank of detective on the Friday after his death. And whereas Deputy Gum was posthumously awarded the Distinguished Service Medal. And whereas Heath McDonald Gum was a dedicated leader and loving husband, son, and brother who put his life on the line for the community he served. And whereas his untimely passing reminds us of the challenges that police officers face every day. And whereas his powerful impact on his family, friends, and fellow law enforcement members shall not go unrecognized. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the 72nd General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that the portion of Colorado Highway 44 from Colorado Highway 2 to Interstate 25 be designated as the Deputy Gum Memorial Highway. That the Colorado Department of Transportation may accept and expend gifts, grants, and donations for the purposes of the initial placement of signs to mark Colorado Highway 44 from Colorado Highway 2 to Interstate 25 as the Deputy Gum Memorial Highway. That the Colorado Department of Transportation may explore a cooperative agreement with the Board of County Commissioners for Adams County for the maintenance of the signs marking the Deputy Gum Memorial Highway. Be it further resolved that copies of this joint resolution be sent to Deputy Gum's family and the following police orders: Brighton, Thornton, Commerce City, Westminster, North Glen, and Adams County.
Is there any discussion? Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, please be seated. Thank you for taking a little bit of our time out of today to hear this resolution and this memorial for Deputy Gum. You know, a couple of years ago when Deputy Gum was murdered, we lost one of our own. And the state of Colorado, along with the community in Adams County, mourned his loss. And although Deputy Gum didn't live in my district, the portion of the road that is proposed to memorialize his life is in my district, and I would be proud to have this section of road to recognize the life of Deputy Gum, his service to our community, and to always remember his sacrifice.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I too rise in support of SJR 21. I think it only fitting as a son of Adams County that we honor this gentleman who gave the ultimate sacrifice, protecting us, and that going forward, the citizens of Adams County will remember that sacrifice when they travel along 104th between Highway 2 and I-25. This section will pass through not only Senator Moreno's district, but my Senate district, as well as Senator Winter's district and many of the House members who are on the resolution that when it heads over to the House. So it's with a heavy heart, especially with current events. I started working on this in January, and although there are those that abuse the badge, this is one gentleman that I think we, as a state and as a county of Adams County, should honor in memorial. Thank you.
Is there further discussion regarding Senate Joint Resolution 021? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of this resolution. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 021 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senator Priola.
Mr. President, I move that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors. Thank you.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be listed as co-sponsors on Senate Joint Resolution 021. Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, thank you for your support of the resolution. Mr. President, I'd like to request a moment of silence and for the chimes to be rung in honor of Deputy Gum.
The Senate will observe a moment of silence as the Senate chimes are rung as a memorial. Senator Moreno.
Thank you, colleagues.
The Senate will stand in a brief recess.
It's
Senate will come to order. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we will be, there's been a request to take, if you look at tomorrow's general orders, second reading of bills consent calendar, there's been a request to take off House Bill 1116, House Bill 1206, House Bill 1209, House Bill 1230, Senate Bill 186, and Senate Concurrent Resolution 1 off of tomorrow's consent calendar. And the remainder, the remaining bills we will be bringing up on a special orders consent calendar that I think everybody should have on their desks. So, Mr. President, I move that the Senate take up House Bills 1003, 1022, 1032, 1082, 1208, 1216, and Senate Bills 158 and 201 on special orders consent calendar at the hour of 10:36.
The motion is that the Senate take up special order second reading of bills consent calendar, which will include House Bill 1003, 1022, 1032, 1082, 1208, 1216, and Senate Bills 158 and 201 at the hour of 10:36. This requires a 2/3 majority. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted, and the Senate will take up those bills listed on the consent calendar for special order second reading of bills at the hour of 10:36. Special order second reading of bills consent calendar. Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Hansen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title of all the bills on the special order second reading of bills consent calendar?
House Bill 1003 by Representative Robertson Rich and Senators Donovan and Scott concerning modifications to the Rural Jumpstart Zone Act and in connection therewith making an appropriation. House Bill 1022 by Representatives Kraft, Tharp, and Van Winkle and Senators Williams and Tate concerning the Sales and Use Tax Simplification Task Force in connection therewith, extending the task force, modifying the task force's duties, removing the requirement that the task force undergo an evaluation by the Department of Regulatory Agencies prior to the task force's repeal, and making an appropriation. House Bill 1032 by Representatives Kipp and Wilson and Senators Janal and Quorum concerning the timing of education standards review. House Bill 1082 by Representatives Valdez A. and Rich and Senators Story and Fields concerning the authority of the state's Historical Society to dispose of real property in Georgetown, Colorado. House Bill 1208 by Representatives Roberts and Will and Senator Donovan concerning the continuation of the Coal Mine Board of Examiners and in connection therewith implementing recommendations contained in the 2019 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies. House Bill 1216 by Representative Malika and Senator General concerning the continuation of the State Board of Nursing in connection therewith implementing recommendations contained in the 2019 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies. Senate Bill 158 by Senator Todd and Representatives McLaughlin and Wilson concerning measures related to providing professional training for educators. Senate Bill 201 by Senator Donovan and Representative Roberts concerning support for Species Conservation Trust Fund projects and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the adoption of all the bills on the consent calendar and their associated committee reports, which includes House Bill 1003 along with the Appropriations Committee report, House Bill 1022 along with the Appropriations Committee report, House Bill 1032, 1082, 1208, 1216, Senate Bill 158 along with the Education Committee report and the Appropriations Committee report, and Senate Bill 201 along with the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee report.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports on the consent calendar? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the committee reports on special order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the special order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The committee will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Madam President, your committee holds lead reports that on consideration of the following task bills being second reading, therefore makes following recommendations are on Senate Bill 158 as amended, Senate Bill 201 as amended, passed second reading, order, grace, place, count, if third reading, final passage, House Bill 1003 as amended, House Bill 1022 as amended, House Bill 1032, House Bill 1082, House Bill 1208, House Bill 1216, passed second reading, order, revised, place, count, for third reading and final passage.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, and 1 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 158 as amended, Senate Bill 201 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1003 as amended, House Bill 1022 as amended, House Bill 1032, House Bill 1082, House Bill 1208, House Bill 1216 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Majority Leader? I'm going to give a copy. Recall. Yeah. Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I don't know if I've ever seen this happen. Maybe some of you have. However, I move that the Senate recall House Bill 1236 from the House for the purpose of reconsideration.
The
12.
motion is to recall
36.
House Bill 1236 from the House for the purpose of reconsideration. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted. The bill will be recalled.
Everybody else does.
Announcements. Majority Leader Holbert. Or Minority Leader Holbert.
Oh, that one. Thank you,
Hey.
Madam President. Yes.
I just was checking to see if you were listening.
Future and former is fine. Or former and future. Members of the minority, I wanted to clarify, we do have a deadline today. Amendments to the budget are due today by 4 p.m. today. 4 p.m. today is the deadline to request your amendments to the budget bill. If you need assistance with that, staffer Elizabeth Lamont is here. She has been keeping track of amendments that were offered on second reading of the budget in the House. I believe that was yesterday. So you can look at what amendments were offered, what might have been accepted, but 4 p.m. today. There was an email sent out from Ledge Council announcing that we were going to have a caucus meeting today at 1:30 to review the budget and those amendments. We are going to have that meeting tomorrow. So there's not a WebEx meeting today. You should have a text from our chief. It explains that. But there seems to be some question about when amendments are due. And now we all know that amendments are due. You must request them by 4 p.m. today. If you have any other questions, please see me or another member of leadership or our chief of staff. Thanks so much. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Stenzinger.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, we will be having a Senate Appropriation Committee meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Senator Janal. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the Senate Finance Committee, we are going to be meeting this morning in the old Supreme Court chambers. We will be meeting at 11:10, 25 minutes, so that we can actually start by 11:15, because everybody always comes late to this meeting. So I'm going to ask that you actually be prompt. And let's start at 11:10 this morning in the old Supreme Court. We have one bill under consideration, Senate Bill 215. Thank you.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Democrats, we do have a public caucus meeting at 1:30 today to discuss the budget. That meeting is going to be held on WebEx. That has been publicly emailed out and emailed to all of you. If anyone else listening needs the link, please let us know. And we will be having a public caucus meeting at 1:30 today.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam President. I just like to take a minute to thank somebody. We had a first here today that I've experienced, and that was hearing the chimes. Whoever fixed that, I want to sure appreciate that, because that is the first time in 8 years that I've heard the chimes. Thank you.
Senator Foote. Foote.
Thank you, Madam President. Quick announcement about Senate State Affairs. We are still meeting upon adjournment, and it's in 357. I grabbed the wrong calendar, so I don't remember the bills that we're discussing, but it's the same thing that's on the calendar here this morning. There's 3 bills up for discussion, and that's at upon adjournment in room 357. Thank you.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Madam President, and I would like to take a moment for personal privilege.
Granted. Moment of personal privilege.
Thank you, Madam President. I had planned to come up here on Monday, and I planned to then come up here on Tuesday after I heard my colleagues and their comments in regards to the issues that were happening around the Capitol over this past week. And I just took that all in, and I'm ready now to give you my viewpoint on what this is to me, and explain it to all of you here in the Senate. You know, I'm in a different place than a lot of you. I kind of fall on both sides. I'm the daughter of a police officer, but I also understand some of the issues and why there is protesting going on. But I understand, like I said, better than most, the position of public trust that officers are given when they enter the police force. I also understand the integrity and the responsibility that's necessary to be worthy of that trust. My dad was proud and honored to be a police officer, just shy of 30 years on the force. He loved his job. He loved his city where he was born, lived, and died. And he loved the people that he served. Small business owners, factory workers, professionals, hospital staff, because at that point in time, police officers were assigned ambulance duty. And he knew a lot of people. And I had no idea how many people he knew, who knew him and loved him until his funeral, where there was standing room only at the church. He worked different shifts full-time, and he also worked extra duty, some of which was very dangerous, like driving a van of prisoners to an out-of-state high-security prison, directing traffic in highly congested areas. Yes, they used police officers then to direct traffic for new construction. Arresting people who broke the law, and some extra jobs which were not as dangerous, such as rock concerts, weddings, and holidays like the 4th of July. But it broke my heart and it broke my spirit when I came back Monday to all the damage and the graffiti at the Capitol, at the Justice Center, and all the businesses on Colfax and 16th Street Mall who are hanging on by a thread due to the coronavirus. This may be the last straw for people, many of them minorities, who work so hard to get those businesses up and running. To see, as was mentioned yesterday, a quote, "A good cop equals a dead cop," spray painted on a building that I love as a symbol of our democracy made me cry. My father was a good cop. Police work is composed of going to some of the most egregious events like active shooting, bad accidents, homicides, suicides, and nothing prepares our police for what they may see: rage, anger, suffering, danger, abuse. There is no excuse, though, for adversarial actions by our police. They are trained to follow procedures every officer is taught, to restrain and arrest suspects with minimal injury. This profession is always on, and I put that in quotations, and now, especially in this last week, this profession is on high alert. And this is what we have seen in the last week here in Colorado and across the country. No one in this country has applauded the murder of Mr. George Floyd. And we all agree that the African American community has said to the public that they want nonviolent protests. I support peaceful protests, freedom of speech, and marches for justice. But unfortunately, some outside agitators are taking advantage of the crisis in order to instigate the violence and destruction and desecration we see on this building and surrounding us. Do you think the looters on the 16th Street Mall and Colfax were doing that for George Floyd? The officers who took part in the murder of Mr. Floyd are horrendous. And every profession has a small subgroup who project a bad light on their title. We see it with doctors, with lawyers, with accountants. We all have them. Every profession has them. But you can choose your doctor or your lawyer. And they have to stand up to certain ethical and professional standards and held accountable for their actions. But you can't choose your police officer. Therefore, police have to be held to an even higher standard. There are varied opinions because there is no data on the percentage of good cops versus bad cops. I believe many more are good than bad. And the good officers are going to be an integral part of how we shape this future. Hundreds of officers across the country have knelt in support of the peaceful protesters. And those good officers have called for accountability around police violence, highlighting the contrast of those who use excessive force on peaceful protesters. As the good senator from Aurora said the other day, we all have to show leadership. We all 35 of us in here, have to show leadership and work with law enforcement to find solutions to the mistreatment of African Americans and other minorities who have experienced long-standing injustice and discrimination. Can the terrible event that happened in Minneapolis be channeled into a positive end result? So there are no more murders like George Floyd? We need to help law enforcement to be part of the solution. Start working to correct the inequities and increase transparency and accountability. I believe that this approach will save more lives and build better communities between the people who live there and the people who work there. I believe there are so many more good cops, officers, and they should be at the table. The agitators and the looters need to be held accountable for their destructive actions. Police officers are crucial to the health and safety of our communities, and we need to ensure that their power and trustworthiness is never in doubt. Otherwise, it undermines the honor of good law enforcement everywhere. We can do this, but we all have to be at the table. We all have to voice our concerns and our ideas. I know that's how we make positive change. Thank you.
Other announcements? Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, we'll keep the desk open a little bit, but we will not be planning to come back to do work.
You've heard the motion. Oh. You haven't heard the motion. Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, because we recalled that bill, we are just waiting for it, and so we can read it across appropriately before we end here. So we're not going to be doing any more business, but we are going to recess for just a couple of minutes as we wait for that to come over here. I think technically there's no real problem with folks leaving the chamber, but just letting you know, we will technically not recess until for a couple of minutes when we get that bill over here. But that's why I'm not going to make that motion just yet. And Madam President, I heard some folks asking what the issue was with that bill. It's purely technical. I think there was an error made in one of the enrolling rooms. And so my understanding is that the bill we voted on technically wasn't the bill the House sent us. Because one of the amendments didn't get incorporated. So we're recalling it so we can vote on the actual bill with the amendment that they passed, so that we can approve the correct bill, not the outdated bill. That's what we're waiting on. I believe it was 1236. So, yep. 1236. It was a Senator Tate, Senator Bridges special. Yeah. Yeah, the amendment. It repeals Tabor and puts us on daylight savings time forever. It's really not a big, it's no big deal.
Do a 5-minute recess.
Which bill?
We'll take a senatorial 5. Senate will come back to order. Message from the House.
In response to the request of the Senate for a recall of House Bill 1236, the bill is transmitted herewith.
Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I want to make it abundantly clear. Previously, I said one of the enrolling rooms made a mistake. Let it be known that it was the House enrolling room that made a mistake. Madam President, I move that we reconsider House Bill 1236.
The motion for the reconsideration of House Bill 1236. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The motion is adopted. and reconsideration is granted. Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, we don't need to reconsider this bill today, but we did need to make that reconsideration in a specific timeline. So the reconsideration is done. Now, Madam President, I move House Bill 1236 lay over until tomorrow, June 4th.
The motion to lay over House Bill 1236 to June 4th. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1236 will lay over until June 4th. Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, we won't be doing any more work on the floor, but we will be reading some things across. So, Madam President, I move the Senate recess until 11:30 a.m.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will recess until June 4th. Oh, until 11:30. Excuse me.